And we begin tonight with thoughts and prayers, perhaps the most useless phrase in the English language, as we report on yet another mass shooting in America, the mass shooting capital of the world. Early this morning, a 23-year-old bank employee armed with a rifle walked into Old National Bank in Louisville, Kentucky, and shot 4 people dead, wounding 9 others before police shot and killed him. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear held back tears as he told reporters that one of the victims was a close friend of his. That was just the most recent shooting. We saw a string of mass shootings over the weekend from South Carolina to Louisiana to Texas. This is America. This is the atmosphere that the Republican Party is forcing us all to live in because they refuse to do anything to confront this uniquely American sickness. And given all that's happening in the world, it is easy to forget that nearly 2 weeks ago, 3 babies and 3 adults were gunned down at the Covenant School, a Presbyterian school just outside of Nashville. Americans are sick of it. Aren't you sick of it? And in Nashville, parents and their kids went to the state capitol to demand action. Their calls were echoed by Tennessee State Representatives Justin Jones, Gloria Johnson, and Justin Pearson.
We are tired of the silence that is going on in this place. And the reality is there are some people who are silent. They're dead. They're 3 9-year-olds who will never serve in this General Assembly, who will never be able to march, who will never be able to protest, who will never be able to raise their voice about this issue. There are 3 folks, 60, 60, and 61, who are just going to work to serve children who are dead because someone with an assault rifle went into the school and shot 152 rounds. What reason does any reasonable person have to have an assault rifle?
Instead of listening and doing something, Republicans moved to expel 2 of the Tennessee 3, Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, the 2 young black men. A shocking, undemocratic, arrogant, and blatantly racist silencing of dissent. Just think about it. The Republican Party of Tennessee moved with lightning speed to punish these 2 young black men because they chose to fight for their constituents' lives and fight harder for the lives of those Republicans' children than they have. I mean, clearly the Republican supermajority can move with blinding efficacy when they want to. But when it comes to keeping your babies safe from gun violence, it's an entirely different story. In fact, Tennessee Republicans are actually working to loosen gun laws. Yep, they actually think that the state would be better served if more people had more guns and more people could walk around with a weapon of war strapped to their chests. They also seem to think more guns in schools is the solution to the problem of, checking my notes, people getting gunned down at school. But rest assured, Tennessee parents, Governor Bill Lee is keeping your kids safe from drag queens. He recently signed a ban on drag performances, which a judge has halted because of its glaringly unconstitutional restriction on freedom of speech. The extremist moves by the Tennessee Republican Party have the distinction of being stupid and yet unsurprising. These are the people that hate on Nashville for its woke modernism, but also want to control Nashville. A recent study, meanwhile, shows that Tennessee is the least Democratic state in the entire country. And its Republican supermajority might be the most dim-witted legislative majority in these United States. Just to show you what a waste of time this anti-democracy experiment was, the Justins, Jones and Pearson, are on their way back to the Tennessee House. In fact, just this evening, the Nashville Metropolitan Council resoundingly voted to reinstate Representative Jones. The woman who nominated Jones reminded Tennessee Republicans why.
The people chose their representative, and with this vote, we will send a strong message to our state government and across the country that we will not tolerate threats to our democracy.
Moments later, he was greeted by raucous cheers by supporters chanting, "This is what democracy looks like."
This is not about one person. It's not about one position. But it's about a movement of people power to restore the soul, heart of what this village should represent.
And he was immediately sworn in on the steps of the Capitol, surrounded by supporters and escorted by Representative Gloria Johnson, the only one of the Tennessee 3 who was not expelled by 1 vote. Then he walked handily back into the chamber. He walked handily back into the chamber of the House as District 52's democratically elected representative. The Shelby County Commission will vote on Justin Pearson's reinstatement on Wednesday. At the end of this grotesque experience, Tennessee Republicans drew the eyes of the world on their state, only to expose their own Orwellian tactics to an international audience while crowning the Tennessee Three, particularly Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, as heroes, as role models for the next batch of young civic leaders who are sick of being led by people who clearly don't give a damn if they or their friends die a painful, gruesome death at the hands of an assault rifle. Joining me now is David Jolly, MSNBC political analyst and former Republican congressman who is no longer affiliated with the party. Holly McCall, editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Lookout, and Reverend Mark Thompson, civil and human rights activist and host of the Make It Plain podcast. And Mark, I think you were with Justin Jones. You were walking with this crowd of supporters that also did include Gloria Johnson and Justin Pearson. Just talk about the atmosphere and the historic moment that you were witness to this afternoon, literally less than an hour ago.
Well, it is historic. If you can see what I'm sending you now, Justin has just spoken to the crowd here on Legislative Plaza here in Nashville about the War Memorial building, a triumphant crowd, thousands of people here. This has been an historic day. Joy, you ended the show. You did my benediction for me on the show since I was cut off the other night, and you said, "Watch God work." You see Justin Fairfax here. When you said, "Watch God work," we witnessed what was really an expulsion during the weekend of the crucifixion. But as we know, truth crushed the earth will rise again. So here is the manifestation of that truth crushed earth, a resurrection. And Justin Jones called it that himself. That's exactly what this is. And so people feel jubilant just after, what the text says, just after being expelled, he has now been restored. The plan is on this Thursday of this week, the Memphis City Council will gather and they will reinstate Justin Pearson. That is the plan. That is what is before us. Justin, Joy Reid, says Joy Reid. We're live with Joy Reid on MSNBC. If you want to say words there, please.
Today is an important step forward for democracy, but it's not the end. That they tried to kill democracy on last Thursday, but today is a testimony of resurrection, of people power. We hope we will continue to show up here in the legislature because Cameron Sexton needs to resign. We need action for common sense gun laws. We need to support these young people who are begging for their lives. And so today is not the end, but it's the beginning. It's a testament to this movement that they cannot attack us, and we will just bow down. But we're going to stand up and rise up together.
All right.
Can you see if you can ask Representative Jones what his agenda, what will be the first item on his agenda when he gets back, Mark?
Justin. Hold it. Justin.
See if you can ask him
Joy
that.
wants to know. Joy wants to know, what's the first item on your agenda when you get back in the House?
It's a push for common sense gun legislation, red flag laws, banning these militarized guns like AR-15s, and passing universal background checks. That's what these young people are asking for, and that's what we're going to act for. And so we're going to continue to call for common sense gun legislation. We're trying to save lives. And there's another mass shooting today in Kentucky. And so we know that this is a systemic issue that we have to address with policy. And so we will continue to fight. Are you okay? So thank you so much. We hope people continue to pay attention to what's happening here in Tennessee because it's the spotlight of the world that has got them to not obstruct democracy today.
Amen.
Does he expect the speaker to be cooperative with him?
Do you expect this? Joy wants to know if you expect the speaker to be cooperative.
I think as long as the cameras are here, he'll fight.
Okay.
But we must hold him accountable, and he must resign for his attacks on democracy. Because it was the most extreme example. What we saw Thursday was an attempt to crucify democracy. So we come here today as a testament to resurrection of democracy.
All right.
Thank you, Mark. Mark,
Joy,
stick with us, Mark. Don't go anywhere because I'm going to try to come back to you. But Holly McCall, let me bring you into this conversation. Do the Republicans in that state legislature, including the Speaker Cameron Sexton, who you just heard Justin Jones call for his resignation, do they understand what a huge error, like politics 101 mistake that they have made?
You know, this has been a catastrophic week for Tennessee Republicans and for House Speaker Cameron Sexton in particular. And I've got a source within the Republican caucus who has told me that there was an airing of grievances earlier by members who feel like Speaker Sexton misled them. They felt like expulsion was not the way to go. He was personally whipping votes, they tell me, to get this expulsion vote to go down. And then he promised the members of his caucus that these representatives, Representative Jones and Pearson, would not be seated. And as you can see, Representative Jones has been reappointed and, in fact, is back in the legislature. And we do expect the same thing will happen Wednesday with Representative Pearson. So I do think, although they will not talk about it publicly, there's an inside understanding that this has been a colossal mistake.
And do you have any reporting on how it is that they whipped the votes and then whipped one vote short for Gloria Johnson so that they themselves could create the spectacle that they let this white woman who was going to stand back side by side with these two young black men to the bitter end, and who is the one who said it was because of the color of her skin that she survived by one vote? Who whipped who's responsible for that vote whipping?
Well, I'll tell you about how Gloria Johnson survived. And let me say, she is no more liked than either of these other gentlemen. Last year, she stood for 45 minutes with her hand in the air to try to be recognized to speak on an abortion vote. However, she had two attorneys represent her. They're both white men, and they are both former members of the state legislature. And so they know that body, and they know that good old boys club. And I believe that is probably what saved her, because 7 Republicans crossed over and voted to keep her in. And I think that's because of the attorneys that are former representatives that she had working on her behalf.